this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we're doing factorising and we're going to factorise by grouping in pairs. This is usually when you have four terms that are added together. So here are four terms added together. What we do is we take the first two terms and try to factorise out a common factor like you see here. Take the second two terms and take out a common factor. And then what you will hopefully find is that the brackets will become a common factor that you can factorise even further. Okay, let me show you how this is done. Now in question 1, we've already had this factorised to the point where we have taken out the first factor from the first two and the factor from the second two terms. So what we want to do is just factorise that the second step. So we just want to recognise that y plus 3 is a common factor. And we bring that out the front. Y plus 3 is a common factor. And then we open the set of brackets and we put our remaining things here. So from the first term we have an x. And from the second term we have a minus 2 remaining. And it factorises completely to give me y plus 3 and x minus 2. Okay, that question kind of started halfway through. If we look at question 2, we get to go right from the very start. Let's look at the first two terms here. Each of those terms have a factor of 5 that we can factorise out. So if I take the 5 out the front, I will have an x plus y left inside the brackets. Then if I look at the second two terms, I have an m, a positive m, that is a factor, and that will give me x plus y left over from that. Now these brackets should always be the same once you've done this. If they're not the same, it means that either you've done something incorrect, you haven't factorised properly, or perhaps every now and then it's not the first two terms and the last two terms that go together. Sometimes you need to switch that around a little bit, or there is some error. But if they're not the same, you can't proceed. So we need to get these brackets the same first. So x plus y is the same for my question here. So that's my factor out the front. And the leftover, if I divide that out, is 5 from the first term and an m from the second term. So that is completely factorised. In question 3, let's look at our first two terms, 12a squared minus 16a. Well, 12 and 16 can both be divided by 4. And a squared and a, there's a factor of a in that. And then I'll open a bracket. 12 divided by 4 goes 3 times. And I've taken one of the a's at the front. There'll still be one left in the bracket. 16 divided by 4 goes 4 times. There's a minus sign, so minus 4. And the a has been taken at the front. Looking at the second two terms, the numbers, there's no common factor there, but b is in both of those terms, so b is my factor. Okay, open the bracket. From the first term, there'll be a 3a remaining. And the second term, I've taken the b, so there is still the minus 4. Okay, so then check both my brackets are the same there, so I can factorise further. 3a minus 4 is my common factor, and if I take that out of each term, I will have 4a left from the first term, and I'll have a plus b from the second term. That's finished. Let's do it one more time just to make sure that we're really getting this. 6y and minus 24, the common factor is 6. That will leave me with a y, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. In the second two terms, there is a common factor of z. Now, but if I'm careful here, if I just take a z out, it will leave me with a negative y. What I actually need to do here is take out a negative factor of z. That way I will end up with a positive y, so that it will be the same as my bracket here. And if I take a factor of a negative factor out of a positive sign, well, that means I actually need to change it to a negative sign, because a negative and a negative would make a positive if you think in reverse. I've taken the z out as a factor, so that leaves me with the 4. And by doing that tricky little maneuver, I have made my brackets the same. So the y minus 4 is the factor at the front, and that leaves me with a 6 and a minus z in the second bracket. Okay? Alright, let's see now if we turn over to the next page. And by the way, you can print all of my pages if you go to my website. You can print all these pages off and you can be trying them out for yourself. So if you pause the video now and you can try these questions, just like the ones we've just done, and then restart to go through the answers to see how you went. Okay, so question 1, we've already got our common factor here, which is q minus 2. Okay, so then the second bracket, I'll have the p from the first one and the positive 8 from the second one. Alright, that's a pretty easy one to start with, isn't it? Alright. Question 2, we need to look at our first two terms. I have a common factor of x in those terms. So if I take an x out of that first term, I'll have another x to put in the bracket. Take out that x, I'll have a y. Okay, then in the second set of terms, the third and the fourth term, a is a factor, which will leave me with an x plus a y. Okay, my bracket's the same, so I can factorise further. X plus y is my common factor. So x will be left from the first term and a will be left from the second term. Question 3. Using the first two terms, 8a minus 6. Okay, looking at the numbers, I can take out a factor of 2. No letters though. So that would leave me with 4a. 6 divided by 2 is 3. In the third and fourth term, I have a factor of b, positive b, which will leave me with a 4a. Take the b off there and I'll have another minus 3. The brackets are the same. So 4a minus 3 is the factor, and 2 plus b goes in the second bracket. Lucky last, 11m plus 33. 11 is the factor. Open the bracket. M from the first term, 33 divided by 11 goes 3 times. In the third and fourth term, n is a factor and also a negative sign. So a negative n comes out, leaving me with a positive m. And if I take the minus from the second term, I'll have a positive 3. So then my brackets are the same, and I have m plus 3 as a common factor, and 11 minus n will go in the second bracket. Alright, that is it on factorising in pairs. Join me next time for some more factorising. See you then. Bye.